Hello, brave awakened ones. Good morning. This is Lady V, Veronica of Higher Realm Holistics, Medical Empathic Intuitive, Holistic, Certified Holistic Integrative Health Nurse, Reiki Master, Certified EFT Tapping, Spiritual Counselor and Guide, Lightworker Sherpa. Thank you, subscribers. Thank you, my fans, and thank you, Patreons, and all those who leave lovely comments. I really appreciate it. Um, Today's the 31st of May. It's already almost June. We're at the tail end, the last bit of the full moon in Scorpio and Pluto in retrograde. Well, Pluto in retrograde is going to be retrograding for a minute, right? But I've been working with that energy and with the Saturn energy, and I apologize for the noisy tourist who parked his boat in front of my condo, who's been blasting country music since 7 o'clock this morning. I might have to conjure something to help him move his boat along somewhere else. Hopefully you guys don't hear all that. Any which ways, I want to start off by saying great big thank you to a couple of really great subscribers. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Maxwell. Thank you, Maxwell, whose SD shop is PinealOrgonite. That's Pineal Organite, ORGONITE. I'll put the information in my comment section. Who sent me this lovely, why is it dark all of a sudden? Who sent me this lovely Organite? At that one. These are Tower Busters. And I actually sent out, I had ordered a few last year actually, and I made a video about it. And I gifted them all over the place. So now I'm going to I got a box full, so I'm going to do a lot more gifting. My next trip, which is coming up very soon, and I'll explain that because it's connected to this video. And I also wanted to say great thank you to, excuse my coughing. I give thank you to Jake Z. Jake Z of let me see. ShamanSisters.com. Jake Z of ShamanSisters.com, who sent me this lovely pyramid. It's Russian style. Like there's Egyptian pyramids, and this is according to the Russian measurements, which is actually what I use in my office. If you guys seen pictures of my office in North Miami Beach, where I do live sessions, I have my pyramid there. I have a copper pyramid crystal, and these are the dimensions I used on that pyramid because it's used for healing. It's used greatly for healing, so I knew about that. And this is shungite, okay, which is another thing I promoted, using shungite. I have it on my computers, my phone. I gave it out to everyone. Some people accepted it, some people rejected it, like my daughter and her fiance rejected it, didn't want the shungite. Well, all you got to do is pray that they'll wake up. And it's for EMF protection, and it's a healing stone, and absorbs negative energy also. So I use it underneath my altar. So yeah, I'll be using that underneath my altar. Already put it in good use. And also this, which is another thing. Thank you. I manifested this, the Auralite 23, and it's a very rare amethyst, which I'll be putting on top of my pyramid, which I've already started meditating with, and I slept with last night. Very powerful. So thank you so much, Jake Z, for that, of ShamanSisters.com. And also want to just talk about my book, How the Caterpillar Flew, A Journey of Self-Discovery, which is children's rhyming book. It was #1 in book and verse on Amazon. It's sold on all major online book retailers and some Barnes and Nobles in Miami, Boston, and Atlanta. This actually has a lot to do with what I'm going to talk about, because I have my young niece, teenager, staying with me for the summer, right? And it was a gift I promised her. She could stay over for the summer. So, and she's even with her BFF too. So I got 2 teenage girls. But I have to say, because I have not spent, oh, sorry, itchy nose. I have not spent a large amount of time with my niece except for visits back and forth to Atlanta. In a while, no one-on-one time since she was very young when I used to babysit her when we were all living in New York. Now, I have to say, she's Generation Z, of course, and there's a lot we need to see. I'm Generation X. There's a lot that we need to notice and help and pick up on the cues when it comes to Generation Z, because as you know, so many of these kids are placed on so many freaking pills: depression, anxiety, ADD, ADHD, which is totally jacking up their bodies horribly. Trust me, I know from personal experience in my family. I see what it does to them, and the amount of pills these kids are on. Oh my God, teenagers, and they're already on like 5 different pills, 6 different pills. Oh, I take this for sleeping. I take this for, this is not my niece, but I take this for sleeping. I take this for anxiety. I take this for ADD. I take this for depression. I take this. I take Ativan, which anyone in the medical field knows out there how powerful Ativan is. Oh, I take Ativan just in case I get a little spike in the anxiety. And they're sitting there proudly displaying their pill bottles and talking about their pills like some 80-year-old in a nursing home who has like 50 pills that they're taking. They're starting them off young, Big Pharma. The one good news I see is that Bayer and Monsanto, Bayer, who's dumb enough to buy Monsanto, they're blowing up. You know, the whole opioid thing is blowing up right in their face right now. And a whole load of other things is blowing up in Big Pharma's face right now. Thank goodness. So hopefully we'll see the fall of Big Pharma. But they got these kids drugged the F up. I know when my kids were growing up, my son is 21, my daughter's 28. They tried to get me to put my daughter on ADD and ADHD medication. But I found some natural solutions which helped amazingly. Some natural herbs that helped her. It was called Focus. If you guys want to look it up, it's a tincture. It's called Focus. And I used it for my son also, who had seizure disorder, horrible seizures. He almost died twice. I had to perform CPR on him myself to revive him when he was only 17 months old, and I wasn't even a nurse yet. I was in my 20s. And so because with him, it was because he was having these horrible side effects from the seizure medicines, which weren't even stopping his damn seizures. He was having horrible side effects, like, oh, you know, we can put him on some Ritalin if he's too sleepy. And if the Ritalin makes him too sleepy, what we do is we combine it with this to wake him up a bit. I'm like, what the? I was like, no, not my kid, no. So I found some natural solutions for my son, and he hadn't had a seizure since he was 12 years old. There you go. Okay. So there's a lot, you know, going on with these kids, that they push these pills so hard. And when I was working in adolescent psych, that is my first degree, I did adolescent psych counseling in a lockdown facility. It was nonstop with these meds and pills, and we always knew, especially with boys, have serious side effects if they start taking Ritalin prior to the onset of puberty. They don't tell you this shit. Prior to the onset of puberty, we always know, we're like, oh, the Ritalin kids. That's what we call them. Ritalin kids. It totally stunts their manhood. They end up with these high-pitched voices and small testicles, straight up. Low sperm count, small testicles, high-pitched voices, short. Stunts their growth. You're talking to an expert here. I'm not just someone talking out my ass. Okay? I have a degree in the thing. So I saw it firsthand, and we refer to them as the Ritalin kids, the Ritalin boys. We always could pick out of the crowd. Yeah, that one's on that much Ritalin. Oh, he's on a real high dose because this is going on. Ooh, he's real high pitched. I dare anyone to freaking challenge my ass and say this is fake news or I'm giving out false information. I dare you, because I'll sue your ass. Okay? Since Facebook likes to block me and say, you know, censor my post, I dare you. I freaking double dare you. Okay? On this. Because, you know, I'm just seeing the horrible effects in my face of this medication. Now, when it comes to these teenagers and Ascension, here's what happened with me and my niece. We're driving along we're driving to a sound bath. She was desperate to go to the sound bath that my friend gives. I was like, oh, okay. Which, by the way, is it next week? I will take you guys live to the sound bath, and you can have a free sound bath. It's amazing because there's lots of people doing the bowls and the gongs, and there's a shaman there blowing on the didgeridoo. I always say it wrong, but it's going to be awesome. So I'll have you guys there live. I'll go live next Tuesday. Okay, so mark that on your calendar. Next Tuesday, 8 p.m. So yeah, I noticed she was wearing shorts. I turned around and I noticed her thigh was sparkling. So I like picked at her leg shakes. What? And I say, oh, so you sparkle, huh? And she goes, yeah, it's weird. She goes, I noticed that you sparkle a lot. And I said, yeah, watch this. And I put myself in direct sunlight. She goes, oh my God. She's like, it's like twilight. I was like, yeah. How do you think I feel? I try to stay out of the sun when there's too many people around. I was saying direct sunlight because I don't want them looking at me like I'm a vampire and come after me with pitchforks. And she's like, what? And I was telling her about how it started. She goes, how did it start with me? I was telling her about my skin hurting and all the other Ascension symptoms that came on with the turning into crystalline, turning from carbon-based into a crystalline being. And I explained that to her, and she was like, oh my God, so you know about Ascension? I was like, girl, I have a channel. She goes, I didn't know. I thought your channel was just on health. And she goes, what's your channel? So I switched her on to Tyrone Holistics, my channel. And she was blown away. And we had the most loveliest evening, like 5 hours of talking about Ascension. And then on top of that, come to find out that she's very much into magic, that she's very much into alchemy. And the girl could teach me a thing or two because I have been putting that behind me. And she's been doing lots of shadow work for herself and others. I was like, what? But she also has been seriously depressed because she has been feeling so isolated to the point of being on antidepressants. And she's like, oh my God. She goes, that's why I've been so depressed, because I have nobody to talk to. And I feel like such a freak and a weirdo and an alien. And she spoke about her friends also. I'm like, this is why a lot of these teenagers are having such horrible depression or having such anxiety, being placed on all these meds, because they just feel so isolated and alone when it comes to having Ascension. I mean, I was always partly awakened since I was a child. I discovered, you know, my how I was, that I was different since I was 4 years old. But actual Ascension, where the physical changes started, didn't start happening until it was like 2010, when the skin started hurting, when I noticed my skin changing and everything. And then I noticed I was almost like aging backwards. And then it stopped. And then that's when I was like, what is going on? And I prayed and I heard, you know, you were preserved for times such as this, and this is what's going on. And no, you're not going to, your aging process is going to be very different from others, to not be scared or nervous about it, because it was freaking me out. Because my ex-husband, who's in his 30s and I'm in his 30s, we're the exact same age. At 38, I was told that around 38 is where I'm going to physically look and be, you know, 30s, mid-30s range. And my ex-husband's like, hey, I got a gray hair. What the heck? What is going on there? I got this, I got that. Do you have it? I'm like, no. And I was like, oh, and like it freaks him out, you know? So it started freaking me out. But, and I looked even younger back then. I looked like I was 21 years old when I was in my 30s. So I was talking to her about our skin and our bones and what's going on. And I showed her a couple of my videos, and it was like I saw the depression lifting from her. And she's like, wow, it feels so good to talk to somebody who actually understands what I'm going through. So parents out there, aunties and uncles, talk to the kids, especially the teenagers. Talk to them. Talk to them. It's tougher actually to talk to the boys because I have a nephew who I've been trying to chip away at and talk to and gave him some crystal and stuff and make him a little mojo bag so my niece could take back for him to help him gain clarity and everything. So talk to them. Try to break through that ice, bring it up randomly or have a video playing where they can come up and be like, oh, what's that? Do that, because that's how I got my son, because he was going through depression, feeling isolated and alone, and then he heard me playing a video and he's like, yeah, that sounds like what I'm going through, because I keep hearing other people's thoughts and life is becoming boring to me because I know what my friends are thinking and gonna do before they do it, and they keep talking, and now they're almost scared of me, so I have to be quiet and not say anything because I could hear their thoughts. He's very strong telepathically, my son, extremely scary strong, more than me almost. We're on the same level when it comes to that, the hearing other people's thoughts. I know how to shut it off. He doesn't yet. He's learning though. He's learning because it was really throwing him off, and it's throwing my niece off. She's having that too. It's like, oh my God, I didn't know, your son was going through that too. And I'm like, yeah. He could hear people's thoughts too. So it's really important to open up to these kids. And I know it's difficult to expose yourself because I have a lot of magic work to do. I had a lot of shadow work to do the minute I got home from Atlanta, and I brought her down with me. So I was like, dang, how am I going to do this with this girl here and her BFF? And it's going to be so uncomfortable. And then, sure enough, Miss Thing, something she knew better than me and helped me out, was like, no, I think you should do this. I'm like, what the what? So you just never know. So we're going to have to put ourselves out there, those of us who are older and have, young ones around us. We really have to put ourselves out there and be there for them so they won't get sucked into that vortex, that 3D vortex, so they could spiral up instead of spiral down, because that's what those pills are meant to do, to hold them captive, meant to do for anyone who takes those damn pills. And it's not to say that if you're in a crisis that an antidepressant or anti-anxiety is not going to help. I'd be a hypocrite to say that, because when I was pregnant and going through abuse with my ex-husband, I did take an antidepressant, and it helped. It helped me. And there was a time that I had to take anti-anxiety medication also for a short time. Mine was situational. And that's the whole thing. That's what's not being discerned in a lot of situations. That in a lot of cases, I should say, that it is situational anxiety, situational depression. Because once I got divorced, once I decided I was getting divorced, I should say, once I made that decision to get divorced, literally, I woke up the next morning and I was a different woman. The anxiety left, the depression left. My anxiety was so bad when I would be driving up into my community to go home, and if he was home, I've thrown up in my own car. I turned around and drove myself straight to the emergency room because I thought I had an aneurysm. That's how bad my head would hurt, and I would lose vision in my eyes, in one eye usually. I would get such horrible palpitations. I thought I was having a heart attack. There were times I thought I was having a seizure. That's how his energy affected me, because his energy was the same as my mom, horribly narcissistic and abusive type energy. So, all that stuff as a kid carried over, and I married it. So you're caught in that spiraling down. But once I caught myself and made that decision, got strong to get a divorce, and to also put my mother in her place and other relatives that were narcissistic and abusive, I started spiraling up. And I've been going up and up and up and up and up ever since. So that's what we have to do to help the kids. Got to help the kids. All right, so I wanted to share that with you guys. So Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I am doing my webinar on what my oversoul likes to call high magic. Okay? And that is a combination of traditional, like Wiccan magic, combined with, because it has to do with astrology. Okay? So combining astrology with the earth magic, which is the Wicca magic, what I call earth magic, and also with the crystals. I have to put in the crystals in there too. So it's all together, and my oversoul calls it high magic, and that's what I've been working on and putting together, you know, conjuring stuff. And when I say conjuring, I'm not talking about spirits, I'm talking about energy. When I say conjuring, I don't conjure spirits. Okay, it's energy I conjure and break, and it's all about that, which we're going to be doing, breaking generational hexes and curses. And I do strongly believe in generational hexes and curses being placed on families, being placed on bloodlines. So we're going to be, I'll be doing a general one for everybody and just talking about it, I'm starting to feel the energy getting hot. And I'll be putting my energy in there. And no, I'm not going to say the supplies that you need, because I want everyone just to pay attention who attends. And then I will, if you want to do it on your own, I will give you that list, so you could do it on your own. But I want your full attention while I do it. Okay, so it's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's going to be about 2 hours. Usually I do one, but it's going to be about 2 hours, because I'm going to show you guys how I set up my altar. I'm going to explain everything so that you guys could understand what I'm doing, have a good grip on it, because it is very high intense magic, and you don't want to, you don't want to fuck around with it, unless you know what you're doing. You have to be able to stand in your power. So it's not for everybody. Okay, it's for those of us who are called to be the high priestess. It's those of us who are called to be the magician. That's what it is. And I'll be doing more of these, because this is I was told this is now the time to marry the two. And that is how I was told straight up, we have to clean our gardens first before we could harvest. Before we could pick our harvest, we must clean out our gardens, that's what it is about, breaking the generational curses and breaking whatever curse, hex, dark, lower energy, attachments that are on you personally. You do it for yourself personally first, and then you do the generational. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is for whoever attends, for you guys personally, to help you clear yourself off. And there's other little hints and tips I'll give you too if you attend the webinar. Again, it's not for everybody. It's for those of us who are called to do this type of thing. Okay? So, hope to see you guys Saturday Eastern Standard Time. You can register at my website, higherrealmholistics.com. And please, if you don't get your registration, webinar registration, the second you put it in, pay for it, it's $22. I don't sit at my computer 24/7, because I have to manually put in the registration, because before, people were literally sneaking in and going in, registering, and not paying. So I was like, that's messed up. So I have to, once I see the payment, then I go in and give the registration. So give me 24 hours, because I'm doing a lot of stuff. Okay, so namaste. Thank you guys. We got the victory. Time to pull out the weeds. And I'll tell you right now, it's not just about pulling out the weeds, it's burning them up too, sending their karma back to them. Okay, so it's, again, I had such a hard time doing this shadow work. Been warned a million times to keep doing it, or I wasn't going to be able to reap my harvest. Now I hit the wall. I have to do it. Now's the time. So it's about knocking them down, pulling up the weeds, burning them up, make sure they don't come back again. Ripping it out from the roots. The roots, meaning that's why we're using Pluto energy, Scorpio energy right now to dig down deep. Pluto's been retrograde. Pluto's retrograde, I think, till November of this year, something like that. We got to dig out them roots, man. Going back far, all right? Hope you can join me. Lady V, out.